with my upload.
I actually had to like reach out, open a ticket and stuff to get it.
From the last episode?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Literally said processing 100% and stayed there for like 6 hours. Didn't move.
And they went in and click, clackety-click?
Yeah, they went in and because like normally you can say, hey, reprocess. It just thought it was processing, so they forced to reprocess, and then it was fine. It was good.
So what you're saying is the company turned it off and turned it back on again.
They did, yes. And it worked once they did that.
Well, you know what? Last time we turned this off, we have now turned it back on. So I'd like to say, hello, YouTube.
Hey.
Welcome to the show.
That's
You
smooth.
caught us. What's the phrase, Jeff?
In media race.
There it is. Talking about stuff. Welcome to the show. We're watching Crusade, the Babylon 5 spinoff. You guys are here. Jeff and I are going to be recording an audio podcast. This is the behind the scenes video of that, which means this show doesn't get edited. So that's why you hear stupid stuff like that. But we only partially promise to not have any more stupid stuff later on in the course of the show.
I don't know. Given the episode we're talking about, we'll probably have some.
We promise to try not to have it.
We'll try.
I can't say that it won't happen, but we promise it won't happen. So that's what we're doing. We've got Babylon 5 for the second time coming up real soon. Very excited to dive into that with you, Jeff. So excited. We have 2 episodes of Crusade left after this one.
I know.
Just 2.
It still feels like we just started Crusade.
It feels like the first time.
The very first time.
Anyway, one other. Oh, yes. We also need to say hello to our council chamber members who are joining us live right here during the recording. Hello to our council chamber members. I've seen Nia. I've seen Sarah. A few others. I haven't gone over there. Ben is over there as well. You guys make sure you keep your comments going on, and we'll check in with those after the show and see what you guys said. But we won't refer to those during the audio show because that doesn't
don't even have them up. Like,
yeah,
it'd be
doesn't
totally
even make
distracting.
sense. So that's all the housekeeping stuff. Subscribe, like, share, those 3 things as well.
All that
Anything
good stuff.
else, Jeff?
No, let's do this.
Okay, don't play Stargate this time.
I know. I'm so like.
So what is to be gained by fighting?
Maybe nothing. Maybe a lot. I'd like to be the one to make that decision.
I want you to know that this thing just made a very large dent in my ship.
The year is 2024.
The name of the podcast, Babylon 5.
For the first time.
Welcome to Babylon 5 for the first time, not a Star Trek podcast. My name is Jeff Akin.
And I'm Brent Allen. You know, Jeff and I are 2 veteran Star Trek podcasters who had never seen Babylon 5 before. We missed it in its original run. So we got together and said, let's do a show documenting our journey through Babylon 5. And you know what happened? We fell in love with that show so much that we said we can't stop at episode 110. We got to keep going. So now we're hitting the spin-off series titled Crusade. So this is Crusade for the first time.
And we're doing the same thing we did through our trek through Babylon 5, and we're digging for those messages that
our trek through Babylon 5. You just made a whole lot of people angry.
Well, I'm setting up. It's a setup for what's coming next.
I get it.
So,
I get it.
So our trek.
I smell what you're putting down.
Yeah, see, it's good. It's a transition thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing the same thing that we did on our trek through Babylon 5, and that is looking for those messages, those sci-fi messages, the things that hold up a mirror to society, show us we can be better in the future, all those great things that science fiction is so uniquely positioned to share. But even though we trekked through Babylon 5, this is not a Star Trek podcast. So we play a game called The Rule of 3, and this is a game that limits us to no more than 3 references to Star Trek per episode.
That's it. 3. 1, 2, 3. No substitutions, exchanges, or refund.
And what happens if we make one of those references, Jeff?
You're going to hear this. Hey, Brent.
Hey, Jeff.
We have a 5-star review.
Oh, yes.
This one's on Apple Podcasts, and it's from Australia.
Oh, good day, mate. Throw another shrimp on the barbie. I apologize. I just watched the movie Dumb and Dumber yesterday with my
Did you
kid.
really?
Yes, I did.
It's such a great movie. I watched it with my daughter for the first time ever, maybe about 3 weeks ago.
He sat the whole movie and he went, "What is this movie, Dad?"
Like, this is what brilliance looks like.
Oh, the toilet scenes, or the daydream sequence that Jim Carrey does, where he's in the restaurant doing the fighting. Oh, he cackled.
Oh, it's so good.
I did that thing. I'm sorry. I did that thing to him that all of our viewers have been doing to us. Like, I know what's coming up and I turn on, stare at him to watch him watch it.
Like, I gotta see
he's
what
reacting, seeing if he's reacting the right way, and then getting mad when he doesn't.
Like, hey kid, just be quiet and sit there and watch the show.
Do you understand how funny that just was?
That was hilarious.
Do I have to explain humor to you?
Oh man.
You're going to watch that again.
We love it. We love everything that you say. It's great. We're just having some fun with it.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun. I'm just saying, I relate. I feel it. I know exactly what you guys are going through because I am that way too.
The Lizard King 1 says...
Sorry. Sorry.
If you're wanting a pot...
Oh my God. All right.
We're good. Yep. If you're wanting a podcast to listen along while you go through Babylon 5 for the first time, you can't go wrong here. As a person who's enjoyed the series before, this podcast is good for a chuckle, but also a nice reminder of what it was like going through B5 for the first time. Seeing the guys have their doubts and quibbles about things that I did on first watch really transports me back to watching Babylon 5 all those years ago. The podcast, like many, takes a few episodes to find its feet and groove in relation to format and discussion, but eventually, Jeff and Brent get the grasp on it and have some truly interesting views to bestow. Be warned if you're one of those die-hard B5 fans who can't stand people comparing things to Star Trek, because you're going to be grinding your teeth since this podcast looks at Babylon 5 from a Trekkie's POV, which I personally find fun.
You know what, Lizard King? There are a few things that we consistently hear about people and what it is that they love about the show. And I think the number one thing outside of a specific element of the show is the overall thing of what you're talking about. Of it takes you back to what it's like watching the show for the first time, because this is truly a show where you can only watch it once for the first time. Because once you know what happens, then you know what happens. Like you're with it. So I love that. I'm a little disappointed you said chuckle but did not follow it up with the word nugget. Maybe you have or have not gotten to that episode yet, but when you do, let us know. And also, there is a rule of podcasting. Jeff, I'm pretty sure you subscribe to this just as much as I do. If you get to episode, I don't know, 50, certainly 100, and you don't go back and watch your first 10 episodes and cringe,
right,
you probably aren't podcasting the right way.
Agreed.
You should be growing. And thank you for pointing that out. I really appreciate that. Also, Jeff,
yeah,
we don't compare Babylon 5 to Star Trek.
We don't.
This is not a Star Trek podcast
at all.
It's in the title.
It's right there. It's in the SEO.
Oh, Jeff. You know, we like doing things here, like playing with SEO.
It's fun.
Because, well, I mean, it's so hit or miss. It's so hit or miss. You know what else is hit or miss?
What's that?
Whether or not we get predictions right when we predict. You like that transition, didn't you?
That was good. See,
That's
I recognize.
That's okay, wait. How do we got?
This is going to be a nightmare.
Wait, shoot, where was that? No, I'm trying to give you a clean edit point. Hold on. And just like when we get to the end of every episode where we make a prediction based on title alone for the next week's episode, this is the part of the show where we look back on that prediction from last week and see if we got this week correct. So, Jeff, the question for you, my friend, how close were you to Patterns of the Soul? What did you say it would be versus what was it actually?
I thought this was going to be a situation where the ship was in danger and Gideon was going to have to make a decision that would violate one of his core values in order to save everybody. Not so much. Ship was not in danger. Gideon's metal was tested, but not his values so much in this one.
might debate that a little bit later on tonight.
A little bit, but not
We might
much.
debate that. Yeah.
What about you?
Not tested in the way that you were meaning.
Correct. Correct. There you go. That's a good one. What did you think this was going to be about?
Yeah, I just said that this would be a classic Star Trek transporter malfunction episode. And I was not right because you know why? This isn't a Star Trek show and they don't have transporters.
It's pretty much a swing and a miss before the pitch even happened.
Gosh, JMS or whoever it is that wrote this episode, why couldn't you have transporters? That's
For
called
this one.
Sci-Fi 101. Sheesh. Well, Jeff, you and I both, swung, missed. I'm not even sure that we were up to bat in this particular game. Like, I think we just got thrown out before we ever got there. Why don't you tell the folks out there, though, people who maybe haven't seen this episode since it first aired so many years ago, or maybe people who've never actually seen it, they're just like, I'm just going to go listen to the show by Jeff and Brent because they're too funny and insightful and entertaining guys. Why don't you tell the folks out there at home exactly what this episode was really all about?
Well, General Stock Bad Guy issues some orders to Gideon. Go see if some colonists have the plague and then take them into custody if they do. Gideon isn't into it, but he knows when rank is getting pulled on him. Eilerson has someone pulling rank on him too. IPX needs info from him and they're losing their patience. We finally get to see that nano vaccine in action as they head down to this planet and, surprise, the people there don't want to leave. The kind of leader of the group, Robert Black, is pretty cool though. He says they can test him for the plague, but with or without it, they're not going anywhere. And adding to the list of surprises, they all test positive for the plague. Who knew? In the meantime, Darina is out doing something. And she's out there, she runs into Kreia, almost as if they were on Paragus. But Kreia is dying. In their last breaths, Darina finds out it's one of her people. There are other Xandarians here. She scales a sheer cliff and finds a whole gaggle of them. They share that some time in the past, mysterious ships that we see as shadows blew the colony ship they were on up, and the survivors set up camp here. These are the last of her people, assuming there aren't others on other colony worlds that also ended up on the planets they were heading to. Gideon, doing the general's evil bidding, digs into the colonist logs and uses someone else's ultraviolet security clearance, and he finds out these colonists were attached to a bioweapons unit and were testing cybernetic implants. So he sends Dr. Chambers into their waste disposal system to do some digging. And she finds the smoking gun he was hoping she would. Contaminated foodstuffs. They've been eating food laced with the plague. He also finds out that Robert Black, a former Gropo and a veteran of the Battle of the Line, is one of the test subjects of those cybernetic implants. After digging through garbage, Chambers finds Darina with her people. Darina threatens her if she tells anybody about them and tells her that they need to double their efforts to cure the plague because, for her, it's personal now. Chambers, a little weirded out by the sheer aggression from Darina, falls victim to the cybernetic arms and nightmare-inducing voice of Tim. Timmy's the obstinate one of the bunch and just refuses to believe anyone from Earth Force could be honest with them or care about them or anything good at all. So he takes her hostage. After another terribly choreographed Darina fight, they head up in the... After another terribly choreographed Darina fight, they head up for the... What did I write there? After another terribly choreographed Darina fight, they head to the colonist shuttle and take off. They leave Black on the surface and head for greener pastures. Gideon gets crafty and fakes the blowing up of the shuttle. He reports back to Townsend, the bad guy general dude, and lets him know that the problem is solved. The colonists are dead. The general's kind of upset because he would have gotten away with everything if it wasn't for those pesky kids. Gideon tries to call Darina on her borderline criminal insubordination, but instead, he shares that he has some high-powered individuals' login info. Eilerson gets a dose of a good conscience and doesn't tell IPX about Darina's people. And Chambers tells Darina that the plague is much more effective against her people, and they'll be gone in a year. I guess it really is time to double their efforts. Brent, did you notice any patterns of the soul in this one?
I noticed some patterns in the course of the storytelling throughout the episode. Jeff, you know I like good writing.
I do.
I like when they put elements together, even if things get cheesy in the middle of it, even if things are whatever. Overall, I felt much of this episode was very paint by numbers. We've seen this in every sci-fi show. You go out, you find colonists, you need them to I'm pretty sure we actually have already done this in Crusade once. You need them to leave, colonists don't want to go. Right? We've done that. Something's wrong with those colonists, something's up with those colonists, everything's not just right. You know, it's not all exactly what it seems. We've seen I'm the last of my people. Oh, look, there happens to be a whole colony of these Talaxians hanging out on this moon on the other side of the quadrant. We've seen this. They're tropes. They get used. There's no one sci-fi show. I don't know, tropes is probably not the right word, but there's no one sci-fi show that has the copyright on those ideas. What I really appreciated about this episode, though, was it felt in many ways like it was moving the ball down the field. It was throwing into question a little bit about what the plague is, what the nature of the plague is, where it comes from, what does it mean, what does it look like in other species. It also just from the opening piece of Eilerson, there's Eilerson getting chewed out by his boss and being forced to do something that he really they're asking him to pull a miracle out of a hat and do something he's not really able to do. Then you have Gideon, or actually, I guess flip-flop these two, but then you have Gideon, who's also getting told to do something by his boss that he's like, this isn't really, like, I'm doing my job here. Even if you can't see it, I'm still doing my job here. And he's getting pulled off. And then Eilerson, what is it, Jeff? Here in the last couple episodes, we've had Eilerson giving us the big, as our friends at Mission Log would say, you see, Timmy, moments here. Only he does it at the beginning of the episode, which I thought was really good. Not all the way at the end. He does it right at the beginning and says, so here, you know, we'll talk about this, but he basically gives it the whole, you know, are you really responsible for doing stuff that is morally questionable if you don't even know that it's morally questionable? And it's the whole knowledge of good and evil and all that kind of stuff. And then they tell us about that. And then we see that play out through Gideon and what he does with the colonist. And we also see Eilerson play that out with how he takes that information and what he does with it. And that carries all the way through to the resolution for Gideon, because he starts with the absolution through absentia, right? Like, you are absolved from being guilty for this terrible thing that you just did because you didn't know that it was terrible, to Gideon basically going, that's BS. I know what terrible is, whether somebody tells me it is or not. So let me come up with actually a decent humane solution, and tell the other people to screw off, basically, you know? So I loved the formatting. I loved how they put this through. It felt like 90s sci-fi in some places, though. I mean, you talk about Darina's fight choreography, which has never been good. It's never been good in any episode we've ever seen her, like all four of them. So, but overall good. It had a couple of those guest actors that you feel like you've seen them everywhere. And one of them turns out Brian Thompson. We have seen him everywhere, particularly in a lot of Star Trek. He's been in, I think, every series of the Berman era. So yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. I liked this episode, despite its obvious problems and despite the places where we've seen it 100 times before. How about you, Jeff?
I'm going to start very superficially and say that I think this episode might have had the absolute worst acting of the series so far. Between the IPX lady that was talking, General Thompson, Tim. Oh my God. Tim, Tim might honestly be the most distractingly terrible actor I've ever seen.
Wait, I'm sorry. Which one was Tim?
Tim was the one who talked like this.
Yeah. Oh, we'll talk about him. Oh, I got thoughts on that. Go ahead. That's who I thought it was. I just wasn't sure.
Every word, every phrase, word, everything came out of his mouth was, "Hey, what's the paint by numbers thing?" And then like the way he oh my gosh, because of what I thought at first was the acting and him in a very big way, I hated this episode the first time I watched it. Hated it. I got done, and you can see it on my reaction. I'm just like, this might be the worst episode in the full of Babylon 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to watch it. When I watched it the second time, I was like, was it the acting? Was it the soundtrack? Was it the like, what was it about this that really turned me off? And I wanted it to just be the acting so badly, but it wasn't. Like, this was a confusing mess of an episode. Like, how did the plague get into a food shipment that was way off world? Dorina was psychotically, dangerously incompetent. She withholds information like she did in the episode with her and Galen. She threatens Chambers. Like, out of nowhere, she's just this complete liability. And then somehow, this plague...
Wait, Jeff, I'm sorry. You have a thief in your crew, and you're telling me it's just now hitting you that she's a known liability?
No, I mean, but I think there's a huge... I'm going to call it a failure of leadership on Gideon's part. And we'll talk about later on where he doubled down on that failure. And I mean, the way that he and Dorina ended in this, I was just like, Gideon should almost be fired for the way he handled her.
Okay.
It was horrible the way everything happened. And yeah, she's a thief. She's a liability. She's those things. But multiple times on her own, she's chosen to withhold critical information because of some personal thing going on. And all she does is randomly Spider-Man climb things. Like, hey, I'm here to wear.
You talked about her climbing the sheer cliff face, and she's climbing that thing like the Dread Pirate Roberts, man. Just
totally. Just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
I feel like she's there to wear really tight, revealing brown outfit and cause problems.
I had a note about that as well.
I'll bet you did, because she looked very uncomfortable in a scene when she was trying to walk. It's awful.
Has she been in that outfit this whole time?
She has.
Hand to God, honest truth, this is the first time I've noticed it.
I just remember the little lacy things on her shoulders that were always there. But honestly, like the whole plague thing, somehow, like this plague was dropped on Earth. Earth was immediately quarantined, and somehow this plague gets to a corporation way off world, put into a food supply, and that just gets hand waved away. Like, whatever. There's an evil corporation literally has this plague, and what we're focused on is that Earth Force infected a few people with it. I thought this was a horrible episode. It didn't end. It had like 6 endings, like 6 times at the end. I'm like, oh, this is the last. Oh my God, how is it still going? Like,
Jeff, I need to read you a note. It's all the way at the end, exactly as I wrote it. Hold on, where is it? Here it is. This episode has more endings than The Lord of the Rings.
It does. It just kept.
It did. It kept going. I was like, oh my gosh.
And I think that proves my point. Like when you're in a conversation with somebody, or like you're giving a presentation, let's say you're giving a presentation and you haven't prepared and you don't have an ending, you just kind of keep rattling where you're like, yeah, and I gotta feel so blah, and it just kept rattling stuff out, and I'm just like, just fade to black. I'll take the soundtrack longer over the credits than watching any more of this. I hated this episode.
It really does throw into relief a show like Stargate, that when they end the episode, they end it.
Yeah, done.
And sometimes it's ended right there.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just left to fill in the other conversations on your own, and you're like, it's perfect. I don't need it. I don't need it. I feel everything you're saying. I have notes that are similar to what you just said, just about everything that you said. I don't have a problem with this episode the way that you seem to have a problem with this episode. The whole idea, I'm going to poke holes in your problems if that's okay.
Okay. That's totally.
The whole idea of the food, that's a great argument. How is it that the food gets infected? And to me, I find it very plausible. I find it very believable. You have a high-ranking Earth Force admiral. I guess he was an admiral. Is he an admiral?
General Thompson.
General Thompson. You have a high-ranking Earth Force general who can get some stuff done if they need. He has connections back to this other company, which is making superhuman, meta-human type people. Their experiment gets out, like the freaking... I'm sorry, here, we're going to go with the next one. Like it's freaking Khan and all his little followers. They get out, right? And he's got to go get them back. And he's got to figure something out. Well, what can I do? What can I do? He's already quarantined in Earth. He's got connections out there. He's like, I know what I can do. I can send some version of this plague out there and he can get it through because he's the general. How did he do it? I don't know. Maybe we'll get that story one day.
So here's the thing.
But I don't to me, that's all plausible. He could do that on his side.
But that's not how things went down. So he was stationed on another planet when this happened, leading this bioweapons division. He was the one creating the super soldiers. It was this super secret illegal thing because we're career military and we believed in the cause.
Yep.
On the same planet as Prozeta, the company making the food stuff, whatever.
Right.
These people get away from Earth. He's got to do something about it. And so somehow he has the plague on this other planet and then gives it to a mega corporation to put it in their food. Like I didn't read it that he was on Earth at all. When Gideon gave the breakdown, I got that he was on the same planet.
See, I don't have because either way, whether he was on Earth or whether he was on the planet, he can call somebody and get somebody to cough into a box, seal it up, and send it over to him.
But shouldn't that be like the biggest deal this whole episode? Someone took the plague off world.
Yes, it should. And that is something that Gideon performs malpractice by not ringing the bell on this this general, by not going above his head or going to another general to be like, yo, this is what's going on. Because if this general is not a rogue acting by himself guy, if this is actually something that's systemic within the larger Earth Force, then we have another problem we got to deal with.
Totally.
Otherwise, we have a problem in this general and we got to get him out. He's not okay. Like that is
well, with this general,
pale.
They don't go into a timeline very much, but I feel like the cybernetic stuff was happening under Clark.
Yeah.
And this general 100% was a Clark loyalist.
Oh, he's a Clark guy. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because there's no way that Santiago was about this.
Yeah, no way.
Ever,
or
right?
Luchenko afterwards, like they weren't they weren't doing this.
I don't know. Luchenko might, if it was going on and Luchenko heard about it, I could see her sitting there going, "Yeah, we're gonna let that keep going."
It'd be inconvenient.
It'd be inconvenient to stop. Yeah, I could totally see Luchenko doing the politicking of it to be like, it's not clean, but politics is rarely clean, and yeah,
true.
Yeah. That outside of that, I agree with you down the line about everything that you have here. Darina Jeff, how many times have you and I watched any sci-fi and seen something that happens in an episode and go, that person needs to be fired today? They should not stay, but their face is on the DVD cover, so they get to stay.
Yeah. Well, I think honestly, like you said, you had notes on it. I think honestly, they need a woman on the cast. And she fits very nicely into this blue tight or this brown tight thing.
So my note on that, Darina has a 7 of 9 type outfit going on. It's molded to her body.
Yeah.
Molded to her body. And I'm like, this isn't a Star Trek podcast, Jeff, so I'm not going to go there.
Okay, good. You've already used 2 references. So
Yes. If you guys want to know Brent's thought on that type of an outfit and what that is in a show, go back to any of my Beam Me Up episodes dealing with Voyager, and you'll hear me talk about it there. I'm quite opinionated on it.
As you should be. I don't know.
That's Beam Me Up, a Star Trek podcast, available where you get your podcast.
Anywhere.
In complete form. The complete series is there.
Download it today.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I felt as that ending scene, she's walking back and forth as Chambers is like, hey, ooh, yikes for your people. And it looks like it's hard for her to walk. Like it was that tight. It's like, oh gosh. What a horrible situation to be in.
Jeff, I have to say something though. I'm ready to say something. I've let you spout out on about this episode after episode, and it's gone on long enough. And I'm ready to say this after watching this episode. I think you have been overly harsh on whatever her name is that plays Dr. Chambers.
Are you serious?
I think, yes, she is not nearly as bad as you make out. Now, that said, stay with me. She has had plenty of chances. She has been given enough to work with. And despite that, she's still not believable in this role. She's just not good in it. She's not as bad as you make out, but she's not good. And this would be get rid of her in the cast in the off season and recast this role. Send her somewhere else and send somebody else in. This is a military show. You can do that. Like she's not working out, man.
No, she's
just not working out. And you're right. She reads things so robotically, and it's like, it's almost like she's not even present with the cast when they film her lines.
Exactly.
It's like the cast is there doing their thing, and then she comes in individually and they just do like shots of her and cut them in, and it just doesn't fit, you know. But I will say, I still say she's not as bad as you.
I don't know, man. Like I was so hard on Franklin when at first, and it wasn't because we've talked about this. It wasn't the acting; it was the character. And to my credit, we were supposed to not like him, right? Like that ended up being the story, and I became a huge fan.
Right.
The character,
presumably the Eilerson characters,
absolutely, yep, because they've set up some of the arc stuff for him. Yeah. But in this case, like, the character of Sarah Chambers is actually pretty compelling. I'm not sure she's military, because like she was wearing a coat straight from the Nordstrom rack when she went down to the planet. Yeah. She doesn't have a rank or anything like that. She's literally just a medical professional.
She's a civilian contractor who didn't catch the virus
and is doing good work to find
it. Good at her job. Yeah.
But even in this episode,
the little plague shield thing,
which is huge. I mean, look what they got to do, all this stuff because of it in this episode. But they gave her some meat in this one. They let her go toe to toe with Gideon when he was talking about the nano vaccine thing, and he's just like, well, some rats were fine with it, and she's like, yes, we tested it. So, but the real meat was when she was in the waste disposal area, and she's like, I could have served on this ship. I could have gone, but this place made a difference. And it was so poorly delivered that not only did I have not developed the empathy for her that we were supposed to in that moment, it actually turned me against her, like, entirely, where I'm just like, good. I'm glad you're on an assignment you don't like.
That was the exact moment I wrote what I just wrote.
Mm-hmm.
That was it right there. I was like, because here's the thing. As an actor and director, I can hear how that line is supposed to be delivered. Yeah. And it's not the way she delivered that line. And this is not an actor's choice. Like this line is set up to be read one way and one way only, and she did not do it that way.
Even close.
There's more than one way you could have done it. But you guys understand what I'm saying.
But they're all variations on the same theme, you know? Like it's a thing. And so no, I disagree with that. I think I'm appropriately hard on her. But apparently I'm super hard on doctors, so maybe that's it. Maybe there's something else going on there.
I'm super hard on doctors.
Just get it. Oh my God.
I'm sorry. Oh my God.
It's so great because no one has any idea what we're laughing at, but it's the funniest thing ever. Oh my God. That was great. That was great.
Hey, listen, if the show can sneak in one of those jokes last week, I can throw in one right here.
Absolutely. Oh my God. You went there. You went there.
Sorry.
So pivoting from using Dr. Chambers as our pivot point.
Yeah.
Let's start talking about these colonists, right? Because she ends up face to face with Tim and gets, I guess, chased up a mountain. It just looked like they were having a slow meandering stroll up the side at a park. But this dude is angry and has a chip on his shoulder and is, I think, completely antithetical to everything that Robert Black is trying to bring to this group in real danger. It played out very obviously in a real dangerous way, the different perspectives they had.
But he's also a guy that can be reasoned with.
Eventually.
As we see at the end of the episode. Like, hey, he sent me over some information, and so we teleported to his ship before they blew it up for the camera. So, yeah. I want to go back to something you said earlier about just how absolutely robotic he delivered his lines. Brian Thompson, the actor who played Robert Black, he has a very distinct speech pattern.
Yes.
And it's that same way in every role he does. It's just how the man talks. But this other guy, Tim, was his name? I missed his name. He sounded like he was trying to imitate Brian Thompson as if all the colonists spoke that way, which they didn't. Like, as if this was a thing. And if he was trying to do that and failed, because he definitely failed, I would have at least respected that. There is, I'm sorry, if somebody's going to tell me I'm wrong, they're going to tell me this is the way it is, but I cannot believe that is that man's actual voice.
I agree. There's no way.
It is not naturally that deep. He sounds like he's talking down like this. And he sounds like he's trying to imitate the way that Brian Thompson speaks. And it takes you out of the episode.
Yeah.
And out of the moment in so many different ways. And it's not a good directing choice or not a good whatever.
Casting choice.
Yeah. And if that is how he talks, to cast him side by side with Brian Thompson, you can't do that. You can't put those two pieces together because it just becomes a blinking red light the whole time. Every time they're on screen together.
The first time he spoke, it was the scene transition, right? You hear his voice before you see the actual scene. And I fully expected to see Brian Thompson. I was like, oh, cool. It's Brian Thompson again. Oh, what is this guy doing? And his facial expression, it's like, here's, I don't know, aggressive snapback quip number 4 that he pulls out of the thing to say. And he's like, even gives like the little kind of thing. It's, oh my God. It was, he aggressively took me out of the episode. And I get what his character was there to do. Like, again, in all of these stories, it's the same thing. You have the leader who is opposed to leaving, but is reasonable and will at least have a conversation and explain where they're coming from. And then you've got the upstart who's like, I'm going to burn it all down. I get the role, but I couldn't. I mean, especially
he just didn't pull that one off.
No. And I think, unfortunately, this is a real theme in quite a few episodes of the show putting responsibilities and lines into the hands and mouths of actors, both main cast and guest stars, that just aren't capable of carrying them.
Yeah. I wonder how much of that is a product of bad casting, JMS being on burnout. So maybe he just, like, I don't want to say he didn't care, but he wasn't as picky with it. Or if this was part of TNT and they're distancing themselves from the show and just trying to like budget cuts and not allowing certain people to be available or something like that. Like I really wonder.
And I think my understanding, in a lot of ways, JMS delegated a lot in this. You know, as someone somewhere had mentioned that like doing Babylon 5 almost killed him.
Yeah.
Being that involved and doing everything. And so this came around and he was delegating a lot more. But I in his annual review, I would say you need to work on your delegation skills. Like you don't get to just give it up.
You still have to supervise. You can't abdicate this role. Like
exactly.
You know, you can delegate, but you can't abdicate.
This is not going well.
Yeah.
I got two references that I want. One I want to go back to just to clarify for people but Brian Thompson, my opinion, most iconic. When you think Brian Thompson, what character do you think?
This cannot count as a reference.
Correct.
He is the black and white or the red and white face dude from that second season episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where we very first mentioned the Dominion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the episode. I think when I see him, I immediately recognize him as that guy. I looked up his IMDb. The dude has been in everything since like 1988.
Yeah.
And he's still going.
He's still going. He looks great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know he'd been in that much stuff. And it's not just like as a voice actor in a video game. Like, no, this is like FaceTime on screen. But he's been, I mean, just genre stuff. He's been in a lot of sci-fi stuff over the years. You know, but I mean, he's in X-Files and he's been in, I don't know, name any show from the 90s or early aughts. He was in it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did I hit the role that you're thinking of?
Totally.
Though?
Yeah. He was. So
it's not Tomalak. It was like Tomachek or something like that.
Something. I don't remember exactly, but like his eyes, his big old, even like his cheeks had muscles, you know, and the paint just pulled it out. It was great. But for me, that's the Star Trek role I think of for him. For me, he will always be the vessel for the master in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He was the first the first bad guy vampire we saw, and I feel like he defined that role through the series. He was so perfect for it.
That's cool. I haven't seen that show yet.
I know. We still got
possible upcoming series.
It's on the list. And then in my recap, and this is just for my Knights of the Old Republic people out there. I know you're out there, but tell me that dude did not look exactly like Kreia from Knights of the Old Republic 2. I mean, this is all flying over your head, Brent. It's a Star Wars game. It's actually the progenitor. It's the progenitor to the Mass Effect games.
Oh, okay.
Basically, they're Knights of the Republic 1 and 2. BioWare had the agreement to start working on Knights 3, and then the license stuff changed or whatever, but they'd created all these assets for it as a next-gen title, and they pivoted and turned it into Mass Effect. But Kreia is this, so at one point, like when Darina is kind of blowing it with him at first a little bit, I was like, influence gained, influence lost, Kreia. If you know, you know. But I was pretty blown away at how blatantly they modeled him after her. But in that moment, he flips back his hood and he's got kind of yellow eyes. And she's like, oh my God, we're the same people because we have yellow eyes. Like, that's the thing.
Well, they got like little bumps on their forehead or, whatever. But,
a little bit.
Yeah, she immediately, and that was my thing. I was like, are they the same? Are they supposed to be the same? I need you to tell me that you're the same so that I understand that I'm picking up what you're telling to tell me. And yeah, it turns out they're the same. Okay, cool, got it.
Learned some neat stuff about her culture. It's time to die, they go off. I'm sorry,
I gotta go back. I gotta go back to dude. He had perhaps the worst wig I have ever seen in a show. Like, it was so bad. And if anybody tells me that was his real hair, I will not believe you.
I will say again, there had to have been an intentional choice to make him look like Kreia, because that's what her hair looks like.
Yeah.
Down to the little fasteners.
He honestly, like, his whole getup looked very Native American. Like, he looked very generic Native American elder tribesman. Nobody else looked like that. Just him.
And you didn't get the pan flute of indigenous person when he was on there either. So it was just as really weird aesthetic choices with him. And also, like, he's there, he's like, death is knocking on my door. And you look at him and he's well hydrated. Dude looks super healthy and just great. It's like, what? I don't know.
It's like they filmed it and like, yeah, we'll do some stuff in post, and then they forgot.
Totally forgot to do it. There's some sort of stricture or some weird tradition thing about her people and doctors. Did you catch that? Like,
yeah. I was taking notes or something. I know what you're talking about, and I didn't deem it important enough for me to stop and like take note of what she was actually saying in that moment.
Yeah, I just noted. I'm like, oh, it's against their traditions to see a doctor.
Yeah,
okay.
Some people, they do. Yeah. I want to talk about if we can, and if you tell me that we need to save this for the next segment, then let's do that. But there is a very clear through line of this episode. And I mentioned it in my opening thoughts. We start with two scenes that are effectively identical. You have Gideon and Eilerson both getting reamed out by their superiors, right? Like just overbearing, poor leadership, bad, I don't need to explain myself to a subordinate kind of a guy, right? Like, and they've got to go do something that they have to produce. They're being told you have to produce or you're going to be fired. Right. And I loved this interaction between Gideon and Eilerson. He's like, IPX doesn't give paid vacations. And Eilerson's like, well, for a cause like this, we'd all happily chip in. I was like, oh, burn.
Yeah,
burn.
You got it.
Right?
I was like, oh, is IPX the Amazon of the 23rd century?
I kind of like that. Also, weren't you getting from the IPX thing a whole lot of like Stargate SG-1 vibes? Like, you've got to produce the technology that you're going out to, a lot of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's a good call.
But
on
then go ahead.
No, you take it. Keep going.
Oh, so I was going to say, like, but the whole piece, Eilerson says it right up at the beginning that the corporation knows all, sees all, and tells very little. So if you make a bad call, you can honestly say you were acting in good faith. It's absolution and ascension. And at that point, I'm like, that's what this episode's about. We're going to watch Gideon and probably even Eilerson go into a situation not being given all the information they needed to be given, which I think we can say that happened with Gideon for sure, right? And he was expected to make a call. Actually, they both were expected to make a call to do something that would have been awful, right? Like morally awful. And, Eilerson's whole thing is, well, you're not at fault. It's not your problem. You acted in good faith, right? And they get all the way down to the end, and Gideon sees these people and sees Dorina's people, right? And it's like, okay, we can take them back. We can do whatever. Nope. Turns out they were infected on purpose, which I do want to dive into that. They were infected on purpose. And then he came up with a way to effectively allow the people to live out the rest of their lives there on the planet, knowing they're going to die in several years. And the other side of that, the other actual legitimate concern beyond the general's, like, I want my experiments back, of we can't let the plague get beyond this planet. It's got to stay here. It's got to die with you guys. Like, so we'll keep you here and we'll monitor that. And if you break my quarantine of your planet, which, by the way, the general's whole thing was setting up a quarantine on that planet is just not feasible. And I'm like, Gideon did it with a thing.
One satellite.
Yeah. Like, it's fine. But as far as the pieces of that fall into place, like, and even Eilerson, when he's doing his report at the end, he's like, well, we found them down there. That could be really useful. And he does the whole computer delete last entry thing. Right. And he actually puts out a different report. He has his little moment of conscious, right? Did you track that as it went through? Like, did you track what the writing was doing as you were going through?
I tried. I saw it, but I don't think the dots connected on this one, and a lot of it was in the scene where Eilerson set it up. And this was again on my second watch where I'm like, oh, okay. So he's trying to set it up. And there were those lines, the moment where he deleted the message, and then the moment where Townsend said to Gideon straight up, he's like, well, you did what you could do, and you acted in good conscience, like sort of a thing. But the whole premise, I think, was flawed from go, because Eilerson set it up as, hey man, like, you're military, so like, you're responsible for what you do, but IPX corporations, we got to figure it out. Like, we just do what we're told to do. We have plausible deniability. We don't have, like, he was trying to set it up in terms of like, I can live in the morally gray because I don't know what's going on. And that's how corporations work. And I'm like, it's exactly how the military, you're wrong. Like, what you're saying is patently wrong. And so from there, they take different paths, right? Like, Eilerson goes through the path of, I'm going to find some information, and even, argues at one point, was it with Dr. Chambers, I think, like, I'm going to tell him I have to, because they're there. And then and then he comes back around, whereas Gideon from go is like, I don't like what this guy's saying, and I'm going to find a way to not do the exact, like, he's making his own choice.
Well, what Gideon did there was he said, like, he looked at that guy and he's like, he knew he was full of poop. Like, he knew he was full of it. And he's like, okay, General, this is what you're telling me to do. I've got to obey. I'm your subordinate.
Yes, sir.
We need to find out more about what's going on here, because we need more information.
Yeah.
He didn't, and that's the thing. Where Eilerson would have just been like, well, just go do whatever you got to do. It's not your fault. Gideon said, no, I need to find out more information. I do need to know the difference between good and evil here, so that I can make an honorable decision at the end and bring people together. So,
and I think that's a Gideon thing, right? Like, I think that's Gideon, and we even interrogated that.
Well, not just Gideon. We've made this comparison. Sheridan did similar stuff. We even saw Sinclair do similar stuff for the short time we had him.
That's what I was going to say. We interrogated quite a bit in the 4th season when we were fighting those Clark captains, and he had to be like, we're not supposed to be automatons. We're supposed to question the veracity and the morality of the orders we're given. So, I mean, like, I don't know. I think I can see, I saw that thread going through, and I saw their different paths, but I felt like, again, it was the execution of it. Like, I have it as a list in my closing thoughts of a thing to mention, but this would not garner any Excaliburs or White Stars or anything, because it was done, I feel it was done so sloppily.
Interesting.
And it's just very much in the way it was, I don't know. It was, again, I think they put a lot of responsibility on the character of Eilerson to introduce and carry that concept forward, and he just didn't have it.
But they're doing that more and more with Eilerson.
They are.
Like, it's like he's becoming the here's what we're talking about in this thing, but he's also going to use these big grandiose words, so you better be able to decipher what he's talking about in light of everything that was going on there.
Which leads to this. I just have to read this note because I think it's hilarious. Of course, this douchebag is reading Chaucer for fun and bragging about it.
He was not reading Chaucer for fun. He was sitting there with the book in his hand, waiting for somebody to come in to be like, "Oh, did you see what I was doing?
Am I far enough in this book to make it look like I'm actually reading it, or should I?"
Right. It's like he was waiting for a photo op of him sitting in a chair with a little light, and he's got the book, but actually it's upside down, and he didn't even realize it. Hey, I got a question.
Okay.
What did you think of Robert Black's compromise at the beginning of the episode? Like, Chambers and Gideon are down there, and they're like, hey, we got to take your blood. We got to do this. And big other dude is like, the hell you are. You ain't getting none of it. And he comes in. He's like, what's going on? Okay, well, we can't do that. You're going to test me. You can test me. That's fine. And if I'm infected, then you can test everybody else. But if I'm not infected, everybody else would have been infected now too. So then we don't have it, and you guys can move on your way. Well, what'd you think of that as he stepped into that situation and brought calm and clarity and showed why he was the chosen speaker of the colonists?
Is exactly what you said. The second he was on screen, everything was cool again. My exact note is just Black is a great leader. He brings calm. He says, test me and only me. And then if I'm positive, he steps in front of the people that he's with to take the hit. Like, it was great. And then I think what was cool was later on when we learned about how he came to be with this group, when he had his love, Emma, who didn't survive a cybernetic surgery. And he was like, I was lost. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And it was awful. I was in a bad place. These people got me. They understood me, and they gave me a new purpose in life. And he's the one who rose up into that leadership thing, which they were going down his resume. And I found it interesting that a Gropo, which we know to be a ground pounder, like this is your infantry, just whatever, was then at the Battle of the Line.
Well, so real quick, just so you know, and I almost corrected you, but I interrupted your recap more than once, so I needed to not. You and I have been mistaken for 2.5, 3 years now, Jeff.
Oh.
It's never been the Battle of the Line. According to the subtitles that I had on, it's the Battle of the Lime.
Oh, the Lime.
With an M, the Battle of the Lime. Makes all the difference in the world now that you understand that it's about citrus fruit.
And I think especially being from 1999 with the rise of LimeWire, it makes sense that we would have the Battle of the Lime.
LimeWire, wow.
That's digging back. As I say, as I'm wearing a bright green t-shirt. But at first I was just like, how does a Gropo grow up to be on the Battle of the Line? But then I remembered, and in the beginning where they were just like, look, if you can strap on a helmet, if you can show up, if you'll muster with us, like, we need people to go out there and do it. Dude was a patriot and a soldier through and through to the end. And I loved the moment where he's just like, that's why we did this stuff. We're military. He raised his fist. I believed. We believe.
Well, I mean, so they volunteered to go be effectively lab rats, as they say in the show, to get all these implants and to try to become super soldiers. They volunteered to go become Wolverine.
Yeah. Yes.
You know what I mean? And they said that it failed. Something didn't work. And so now they're back on Earth. In what think about this. What kind of living situations are they in? Because they can't get out into the public. Their existence cannot be known to normal people. So they leave and escape whatever prison they were living in. And I'm assuming it was a type of a prison, maybe not like maximum security jail cells, but they certainly weren't free. And these people are seeking their freedom. And they go out and find escape. Just so happens it was right before the plague hit. Like, pure total dumb luck, but they got out scot-free.
Yeah.
There's a story here that we're not fully getting, and we're never going to get it, unfortunately, but that's an interesting, because turns out he's a good, like, they're all good dudes, it seems like. Even Tim, who is awful, is a good dude.
But he's awful, and the chip on his shoulder is understandable. Because back to the we believed, like, they were stepping up to the cause. They were doing what so many soldiers do. As we record this, we're just a little ways off of Veterans Day in the United States. And regardless of how you feel about war or military or anything like that, a veteran, like, that's a type of person, right? A service mentality and sacrifice and all of those things. And I mean, need to be honored. And I think these people were just really great examples of that. And then they were very wronged by their government, and Tim just didn't take it well, understandably. I do have an important question for you, though.
It better be important.
I think it might actually be the most important thing that came out of this episode.
Okay.
Whose login info do you think Gideon was using?
So he's talking about he won this stuff like in a poker game. I really thought that he was talking about the Apocalypse box.
Oh.
And that he would have gotten the information from the Apocalypse box. But I don't know that that's the case either. I think this might have been in a completely, entirely separate situation.
Yeah, because he talked about how they were playing Sharks, which is a game I'm not familiar with, but they were both 3 sheets to the wind. And
I heard that and I was like, Gideon wasn't that drunk when we saw that scene.
Exactly. So I tried, like I spent some time like trying to so the username was Benedict. And then the password was Sharks. So this is somebody who gambles or plays quite a bit. And I'm like, do any of those things line up? Benedict Arnold, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I can't think of anybody.
Benedict.
There's that.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Eggs. You know who loved eggs when they got, that was really pushing on Ivanova when she got her eggs?
Garibaldi.
And he would have been 3 sheets to the wind at some point.
Maybe. So what we're saying is that was actually Garibaldi, but it couldn't have been Garibaldi.
Why?
Because we know the type of passwords Garibaldi chooses.
True.
And ante-up is not.
Well, ante-up was Gideon's password. That was his override password.
Okay. Well, even still, Sharks is not.
No. Doesn't line up with Peekaboo.
Right.
It's true.
So yeah, because sorry to poke a hole in that theory, but I do like it.
Because it's got to be somebody. They can't just, I got this secret login, and then they never use it again. Like it had to have been another one of the threads that would have been picked up on. I wanted to think it was Garibaldi because in my head, I was like, this would have been a point in season 5 when he was drinking, maybe on Mars, or something, and got in this game. And we know how Garibaldi was with security codes. So, he held on to those things, but yeah.
That's one of those. I would love for this to be such a big fandom that people are posing like fan theories about, hey, so the guy that Gideon got the codes off of, that was Garibaldi. Like, and here's my red yarn as to who it is. Like, I would love to have that much of a fandom of this show making those kinds of connections.
My first thought was, I'm like, is it Veer with his Abrahamo Lincolni?
Oh, could be.
Thing?
Yeah.
Tying that to Benedict, but then I was like, I don't know. He was 3 sheets to the wind. He went through his drinking phase and stuff.
Except though, this is Earth Force though.
Exactly.
This is not going to be an alien, and this isn't going to be Sheridan with the Interstellar Alliance either.
Yeah.
Although, what if it was Sheridan? Because Sheridan also was Earth Force.
He was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. And Benedict, oh my gosh, how many conspiracy theories originate with Benedict Arnold crossing over to the British? And we all know, it's very well known and discussed and interrogated completely how much of a conspiracy theory nut John Sheridan was.
Almost
I need to let
about
that
as
go.
much as his previous marriage to Lockley.
We keep banging those same drums. But this is the
question. I have another question. I'm sorry. Are you, because I'm going to change topics on you if you're still here, stay here.
Let me go because I want to pivot into something related to it.
Okay.
So this is actually the point where I said Gideon should almost be fired for what he did. He and Darina are sitting on the shuttle. We got a lot of shuttle time in this episode. And the thing I noticed, a little side note, there's no seat between the pilot and co-pilot. It doesn't exist.
No, but we saw that in the last episode.
Yeah, that's blocking. But they're sitting, and he's starting to push on her a little bit. Like, you knew this stuff, and you didn't tell us. And she's like, well, I had some stuff. And he's like, you got to tell us these things moving forward. And then she's like, okay, secret for a secret. And he's like, okay. No, not okay. She straight up hid information from you. You don't give her anything back for that. She's lucky that she's still on your ship. And it was just a way to tell the story of how he got this stuff. But I'm like, you do not tell her that after that gross incompetence. That was, although he had a great line where she's talking about who she trusts. And she's like, well, you cheat. And he's like, that's subjective.
Well, and I had this later on, and we got this in a bit. Gideon may be a cheater, but he's an honorable cheater. He has his moral limits of what he's willing to cheat with and where he's going to stay upright.
He's like, I'll palm a card from time to time, but I'm not going to genocide an entire race through secrecy, you psychotic individual. Like, wow. You said you had a question.
I did. I want to talk about Darina for a moment. So Darina, at least up to this episode, believes she is the last of her race.
Mm-hmm.
This may be more a question of what would you do if you were in that position? Or what do you think Darina... Do you think Darina feels any... I don't know why I was thinking about this in this episode. Do you think she feels any responsibility to procreate and at least have like half of her genome continue out there somewhere in the world so that like, because when she's gone, like that's going to be it. Does it, you know, does she, would you feel that need to like, hey, I'm the last of my kind. I better have some offspring and at least in some way, shape or form, keep this going.
I look forward, Brent, to the day I'm the last man on Earth, because then I'll finally have a chance.
Oh, Jeff.
No, absolutely. I feel like that would be like top of mind. And I imagine that, like, let's pretend this is happening on Babylon 5. Like, she's on Babylon 5 and she ends up there. If I'm Dr. Franklin, I can't not interject myself in there and be like, we have to keep this going.
Jeff, if you're Dr. Franklin, whether she wants to or not, you're impregnating her. Now, whether you do something outside of her body or in a more, how did Jakar put it? A more traditional pairing.
Yeah.
Right? Or not. Yeah. You know, at least early Dr. Franklin.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
You know, for the good of the species.
But I thought it to the point even of like, here are these people. I've found a tribe of my people. Mm-hmm. Hey, random dude over there. I need something to take back to the world.
we gotta get this going here.
Or even when Dr. Chambers is there, although they have the thing about doctors, but be like, hey, snag some genetic material. Like, we'll clone them or in vitro them or something. Because, yeah, I think she definitely had. I would hope that she has a feeling of that.
So, did you think at any point Darina's people were going to be immune to this plague?
Yeah, I did.
And they weren't.
No,
in fact,
the
they
exact
were like
opposite.
super accelerated on the plague. Because where I really thought was, as we got bits of information all the way through, was these people were going to come to the planet. And at first I was like, well, they're not going to be infected with the plague. This is just what they're going to tell people so that they can get them off the planet or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then they weren't. And it turns out they are infected with the plague. Okay. And I remember thinking to myself at that time, well, the people, because we know they're sick, right? Like they're saying you got to leave so that our people can live and stuff like that. So there is clearly something going on there. I was like, what it's going to be is it's not going to be the plague. They're going to be immune to the plague, but it's going to be something else about these guys where they're genetically modified. And that's what's doing something to them. Yeah. And that's why, so it's going to look like it's the plague spreading, but it's not actually the plague spreading. And turns out I was wrong on all of those predictions all the way around.
Yeah, totally just the plague and super hyper accelerate 500% faster against her race than humans.
Which should give Darina pause for going gallivanting around the universe looking for a cure to this plague.
Totally.
Or maybe all the more reason to, I guess.
Yeah, I think all the more reason to, because that's the other side.
Especially if she's the last one of her people, she's what you would call expendable.
Yeah, she's got nothing to lose. She's got somewhere between 1 year and 40 years left. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, if I knew someone only had 20 years left, I'd be super upset about it all the time because, what, only 20 years?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm banging on a lot of drums from B5 today. That isn't necessarily fair.
Two observations, just from a production standpoint. Gideon, I think this is the second time we've seen it, Jeff. Gideon's got a kick-ass chess set.
Yeah,
I want that chess set. That translucent blue and white.
It's almost like a quartz
and it's
sort of
elevated,
thing.
like it's got multiple, but it's not 3D chess. It's just the board. Oh man, it looks good. It takes up way too much room on his desk.
It's almost his whole desk.
Like for a man who has a job and is doing stuff, it is more than a decoration. That takes up as much room on his desk as my whole setup here.
Exactly. I was thinking this because like I have a hard time like slapping stuff down to do anything extra, and it's the same thing. I just, as you were saying that, because one thing I noticed about it was sideways to him, like where he's sitting. You've got one set of the players facing the edge of his desk, the other set facing the monitor. Is he playing a chess game against something like a mail order thing or a FaceTime kind of thing?
Right.
That'd be cool.
Man, can you imagine playing futuristic long distance chess? I've got a chessboard. You've got a chessboard set up on your end. They're connected so that when I make a move, your chess piece makes a corresponding move.
That'd be great.
You know what I mean? Like it's connected like that.
Almost like we'd be on the internet and be looking at the same screen and be able to move things even though we're on different sides of the world.
No, but I want the physical.
The physical, yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be so cool. But yeah, that set looks incredible.
It looks so good. I really like that is a prop replica I want. Let's talk about a prop replica I do not want.
Okay.
The device that Dr. Chambers was using to detect the virus when she was going around that thing looked like a rejected prop, like a prototype reject prop from the Ghostbusters films.
I kept saying, is that her PKE meter that just didn't work?
It did. It looked like a bad PKE meter. They're like, here's 3 choices. They picked the one in the middle. This was the one on the left. It's like, it was awful. Awful.
Agreed.
Okay. I made this note, and after this, I think I'm good on all my notes here. They were poisoned with the plague by this Pro Zeta Corp. Which, first of all, I want to know what Pro Zeta is. Is that just a word that the writer thought sounded cool? Or is it pro, as I mean like for, and in support of whatever Zeta is? Now, Zeta is a letter in the Greek alphabet. It's not the last letter, by the way. But what is there? Is there something here we're missing? But I said here at this point, and this is earlier in the episode, I was like, so if they can be poisoned on purpose with this plague, there are greater implications to this that I'm not even putting together right now in this moment.
I think that this is meant. I think they're meant to be the corporate spec. This is the first mention, and we're going to get a few more, and it's going to turn out they're actually in league with the Drakh or some.
That's what I was like. Is it possible that this Earth organization, like you remember how like Psychor was supposed to be in league with the Shadows, and then that barely materialized? Is it something kind of like that? Like
maybe that's how they got the plague. Nothing was smuggled off the planet. They helped bioengineer it, and they had the prototype on hand.
Do the people that work there have keepers? And it's that sort of an issue going on. The Drakh have infiltrated this thing. Does that general have a keeper? Do we have keepers on Earth?
Yeah.
Right? Like we know Londo's got one out there. He's the emperor now, right?
We know
he's got one. Who else has one?
At this point, David doesn't have his yet, but he gets one later.
But remember that one human that we saw in that one episode who had one. He was the
Captain
dude
Jack.
on Captain Jack. Yeah, that guy. So keepers are given to humans. It's established in this place. The idea that general could have had a keeper, 100% could happen.
Yep.
Or the idea that anyone in that organization, that Pro Zeta Corp, or whatever this organization is that's making these superhumans, they could all that could be part of the Drakh plague. You just answered your own question.
I think so,
happened, Jeff. You made it more plausible than I even said.
What I know from the Legions of Fire books is the Drakh have a lot of ways through the Keeper to influence and make things happen. Even not through the Keeper, there was a character that didn't have a Keeper, but still like they were able to influence through his dreams and stuff like that. Gave him visions of a thing that led him down a path. So very much that general could have, or the person could have had a Keeper. They could have given the inspiration for them to create their own little version of the plague there. like, and if like, maybe it's seeded out in other areas, but like, yeah, we'll give it to the humans and let them do it. Quick start page search result. Prozeta is a European DDoS protection Kubernetes like IT company.
Interesting.
They have a really nice, really cool looking website actually. So they're going to turn into a protein manufacturer in a couple 100 years. All
right. Just what I need is somebody to manufacture my protein off world.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be great.
Man, can you imagine the tariffs on that thing? Well, Jeff, with all of that, I think we've hit a spot. We have examined this episode in more detail. I think, why is it always the episodes that are not the most amazing episodes we spend the most amount of time picking apart, you know? But we have hit that spot where it's time to boil this down and see what messages truly are contained within this show. I have a feeling I may have picked out a few that you didn't, or a few more, or maybe you have them too. You just have been saving them to address them here, and Brent's been jumping the gun. Jeff, my friend, talk to us about it. What messages did you find in this episode?
One of my favorite ones wasn't so much a message as it was a punctuation mark on a message we've gotten before.
Okay.
And that was the message of forgiveness. Darina finally goes to Chambers and is like, hey, so that whole threatening to kill you if you didn't keep my secret. Sorry about that. Doesn't miss a beat. You're forgiven. Chambers says, I forgive you. I get it. And I think that's one of those things of she was able to see what happened through the lens of Darina. She understood the situation she was in, what she was faced with, and she didn't hold that against her. It's just, I forgive you. That's okay. Thanks for coming. And I think in that moment, it just put in action what we talked about when we talked about forgiveness a couple weeks ago. And that's, it's okay to apologize. It's okay to seek and get and give forgiveness. It's okay. And they did it really well. Tim actually delivered some messages in this one that I really appreciated. The first one. Okay. The human race doesn't measure the quality of what it's accomplished, just the quantity. I tried to do it in his voice. I can't even do it. It's so bad. But we just measure the quantity. Oh my, want to talk about a mirror to society. We don't care about quality. Produce all the time. The last couple of years have gone through some substantial life changes. And one of the things that I've worked through in my work on that is being okay, not doing anything. I'm just going to do nothing because that's all right. I talked a couple episodes about Thich Nhat Hanh and his thing that, the quality of your actions are based on the quality of your being, and your being is non-action. It's just being is just being. And I thought, what an incredible thing to reflect on. What if we lived in a world that prioritized quality and understood that a 40-hour work week is meaninless unless you're got good stuff coming out. And if you can have good stuff come out of it in 8 hours, why do 40? Just focus on the stuff that needs to happen and don't have this driving need for noise, for distraction, I'm just not being productive today and I feel guilty about it. It's such a true statement. Unfortunately, we didn't talk about it much. He just kind of said it to justify their running away and, living somewhere else. But I just thought that's a thing that has to be called out. But the other thing he brought up, speaking of just having to move too fast and do, is he says...
I'm sorry, I just need to point out, you just said do-do.
Do-do, I did. Almost as good as saying duty. How many weeks did we run that joke over on Stargate?
Too much.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
But no, he says there's a lesson to the Drock. Maybe there's a lesson to the Drock plague. Slow down and enjoy life, or it will be taken from you.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I'm in my late 40s. And I am a person who can say, oh my gosh, the last 18 years, I don't even know. Like, it's just a whirlwind. Yesterday I was 30 and doing these, and what happened? And that's because I was in that mindset of do, quantity over quality.
Yeah.
What I immediately heard when he said that was, and this isn't going to be a statement around the response to COVID and everything, but I was so hopeful in that time. Like, we're all sitting at home. There was like, what, 2-3 week period where 90% of the country, and at least in America and other places, 100% of the country were just in their houses. We weren't even going outside. The roads were all but empty. And I remember people talking about, like, this is our chance to really refocus what's important in our lives.
Yeah.
Take stock, of what we have and enjoy things and realize that, maybe just hanging out with our family is totally okay. And I was like, this is going to be great. Assuming we cure this thing and people are safe and everything's good, the best thing to come out of this is going to be like, we're going to slow down and we're going to appreciate life and all it has to offer. Unfortunately, that's not what happened at all. Just turned into a big political bailiwick, and we're still stuck fighting about it all this time later, and huge missed opportunity. But there was a moment where we just got to sit. And
we got to breathe. It's like the world got to breathe, which is very odd considering the fact that everything was air
respiratory.
Like,
yeah, it's very ironic.
But we did, like, we got a chance to, like, we weren't spending money. We were together with our people. We were, some people unfortunately were isolated, which it's
a good point.
Some people liked it, some people didn't.
Well, and honestly, it led to the other pandemic that we're still dealing with now out of it, and that's the mental health pandemic because of that. But I remember pictures of, like, wildlife re-entering the cities.
Yeah.
Charts of, like, look at our greenhouse emissions and carbon footprint, the
Everything
planet. The planet breathed better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even things like other illnesses, like the actual flu, was near zero that year. You want to know why? Because nobody was out spreading it around, and everybody was doing the stuff that you should do anyway, which is, wash your hands, don't breathe on people. If you feel sick, wear a mask to keep your germs to yourself, because the mask is about keeping your germs to yourself, not protecting you from other people's germs.
Yeah.
Like, people were just doing that sort of stuff. People weren't on airplanes taking the flu from one hemisphere to another as it traveled around the globe at various points of the year. So, and I remember a doctor that I know who predicted, he told me, like, straight up, real early in the pandemic, our flu transmission, which we don't even know about till later on in the year, is going to be nothing this year. Well, why is that? Because we're not doing the things that transmit the flu. She's like, if we would do this stuff anyway, we could eliminate the flu.
Isn't that wild? Yeah. And I think, and you made a great point. I want to just make sure to shine a light on it, that it wasn't great, right? Like, this was not a good time. A lot of people died. A lot of people were hurt. A lot of people were isolated. But there were those things. Like, I can look back at it now and be like, hey, it's great. I have whole teams that can work remotely now, and I've got the infrastructure for it. That's a great thing that came out of this. This was a great thing that could have come out of it. But it reminds me, so my daughter and I know similar in your family, we have a love and appreciation of the theater. And my daughter is in a musical theater phase right now. And so a little while ago, we went and saw the Cat Kid Comic Club, the musical, which is one of the Dave Pilkey things. It was a lot of fun, but we got out of the theater pretty late. It was dark, and we took the light rail. We took the train up here in Portland, and it was dark. And my daughter says, she's 9, and she says, what did people do when there wasn't light? Like, when we didn't have lights Did they just like sit around and like what? I'm like, no, they went to sleep.
Right.
And actually, for most of all of the time in the world, we just lived on the cycle of the sun. And so, like in the summertime, we were up more, doing more things. In the wintertime, we slept a whole bunch. And she was like, well, was that awful? Like, I'm like, well, people didn't have TV. They didn't have radios. They didn't have the internet. They had each other and their community and their work. And it was great for them. And it just really got me thinking, I don't know if people were happier back then. You know, I imagine in a lot of ways it was awful. They didn't have plumbing. It'd be little things like that. A lot of people, had no voice in the political discourse that was occurring. But there had to have been, at least at like a family level, just, I don't know, more of a fulfillment that existed for a lot of people. You know what? We eat dinner and then we sit down by candlelight and Ma or Pa reads from a book to us, and then we all go to sleep in the same room because our house has 3 rooms total.
Which makes you wonder how you ever have more than one kid.
That's a good point. Well, there was a schoolhouse where they had to go out into the fields.
Time to go play.
Yeah.
Time to get out of the house for a while.
You should go work in the fields for about 15 minutes.
You know what I love the most about that story? I think it's super cute, is the fact that your daughter thinks you were old enough to live at a time before we had lights.
I don't know if she thought that, but
my daughter certainly has asked, like, Daddy, did you have bathrooms in your house when you were growing up?
Well, I don't know about so much about you being old. That's more about you growing up in Kentucky.
Did you? That's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, that's a lot of what I pulled out. You said you pulled out a couple other things. What did you get?
I mean, I think to me, and you said this would be a no whatever rating that we would give, and I would completely disagree with you on that, and I would stump for these. And if you still only gave it 1, I would reach through the computer and slap you, because I literally think the message of this episode was exactly what they set up. And specifically what I mean by that is, we got that whole line, I've talked about it a bit, where Eilerson talked about this absolution in absentia.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard that phrase before this episode, but I think it's a great phrase. Absolution in absentia, which, if I understand it right, at least according to this, it's you're not guilty because you didn't know you were doing wrong. Right? Like you did not have the knowledge of good and evil, so you're not guilty. And Eilerson was a guy that at the beginning of the episode was content to bury his head in the sand and just let be what happens. I'm just out here doing my job. And we saw him by the end of the episode not be like that anymore, to pick his head up out of the ground, look around and be like, I can't do that because that's wrong. Gideon didn't change, on the other hand. Gideon was Gideon from the start of the episode to the end of the episode. And he rejected, and here's the message. He rejected the idea, the notion of absolution by abstention. I cannot stay ignorant and have my actions just be whatever they are. My actions have to be done through knowledge. I need to know what I'm doing before I do these things, because I am responsible for what happens. And I love that as a piece, the idea that you are actually responsible for your actions. And I think it asks a good question. When are you responsible for your actions? Is it when you're aware of them? It's hard to hold somebody responsible for the things that they do if they don't even know that they're doing wrong.
Although we do.
We do all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
We do all the time. I mean, what is it? Ignorance of the law is no excuse for breaking the law. Exactly. We hear that, especially if you go to other countries.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this is just because you didn't know. You get pulled over in a state that has different driving rules than you do. Well, sorry, you should have studied up on the book before you came here to this state.
To your point, it's your responsibility to know what it is. I'm gonna reframe my take on that, because you did say a thing, and I think I was really looking at it from an Eilerson versus Gideon standpoint. And you're right. This is just who Gideon was, but I'm going to take Gideon off the table. And this is part of why I didn't talk about it, even though I have the note about it in here, but we talked about it earlier. But the real story was just Eilerson. he was sitting back talking about, Adam and Eve screwed up when they knew what it was. They just stayed ignorant. They could eat whatever they wanted the whole time. It would have been great.
Yeah.
But we watched him go from, I just don't know, to a moment of, well, I'm going to do it because it's the thing that I have to do, to, I'm not going to do it. Like, we watched the arc happen in Eilerson in this, which goes back to he's going to be our message deliverer, and he's the one with the I'm going to learn a lesson arc over a lot of this. But
well, he's going to be the most dynamic character of the show.
I think so.
But we know that about him. We know he's supposed to be one way and end up in a different way. He's got to be dynamic.
And we saw that in a really microcosmic way here in this episode. So I think if I look at it through the lens of an Eilerson, that's a great message. And then if separately look at the message of Gideon of just, you're full of crap and no.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. No.
And if I go back to previous litmus tests that we use, because we always talk about, well, how much did the writer mean for this to actually be the message?
Well, the writer said it.
This is literally what the episode was about, and it was constructed around this idea. Even if it wasn't executed to the greatest deal, looking at UTKO, the way it was constructed, the way it was put together, Jeff, really appreciated and enjoyed this episode, despite the obvious flaws that we've spent the last 90 minutes pulling out.
We did spend a lot of time pulling those out, but I'll just wrap that up by saying, if I look at the Eilerson arc and the Gideon line independently, I think the writing was up to snuff for those two stories. Everything else, not. But for those,
well, that's all this other stuff. That's the paint by numbers thing I was talking. We've seen this in every. It's unique to the show what they did, but it's the same. It's the same stuff we see. Like,
exactly. They needed a device in which to encapsulate the message. Mm-hmm. Here's the easiest thing we can come up with.
Which is what the Rolling from the Tomb episode did too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here's this Joan of Arc thing, and here's this, and here's what we're actually talking about here.
I'm curious, Brent, what you're going to talk about, because you get to add this to our growing list. We have a top 10 now in our objectively correct, immutable, inarguable, incontrovertible, and all the other things, uninterrogatable ranking of Crusade to date. Do I list out the top 5 or the bottom 5, you think? I'm going to go for the middle.
Okay.
I'm going to start here with number 4. Mm-hmm. I have the Path of Sorrows. And 5th, we've got Appearances and Other Deceits. 6th, we've got Each Night I Dream of Home. 7th is Visitors from Down the Street. And then 8th, Racing the Night. Brent, where is Patterns of the Soul going to go?
You know, Jeff, I've talked about before. I really am a sucker for writing that does what this episode did.
Mm-hmm.
I love this kind of stuff. The execution of it, certainly there are places where this needed to be improved. Overall, I enjoyed the episode. Is this a favorite episode that I'm going to rush to watch? No, but I do think that this falls in the category of a good episode, even if you don't. However, you're incredibly right to read the middle 5 of this. When I look here, and I think there's Path of Sorrows, there's Appearances and Other Deceits, great episode. Each Night I Dream of Home, really enjoyed that episode. Visitors from Down the Street, that's the X-Files episode.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the dividing line right there.
Okay.
So this one is going to slot into our new number 7, below Each Night I Dream of Home, but above Visitors from Down the Street, an episode I enjoyed, even if I didn't understand all the pieces to it. But it I don't know. There's just a dividing line. And then you have Racing the Night and Memory of War and Rolling from the Tomb, which are not the greatest of all episodes.
They are not.
Mm-hmm.
But again, 3 out of 11.
In a first season of a sci-fi show? Yeah. From the 90s? Like,
pretty incredible.
That's great. Yeah. That's great.
Well, there you go. Well, Brent, that's going to do it for Patterns of the Soul. Next week, we are watching The Well of Forever for the first time. We don't read up on these. We don't read the synopsis. We don't look at the thumbnails or anything. We just guess what it's going to be about based on the title alone. So, Brent, what do you think The Well of Forever is going to be about?
You know, Jeff, this is not a Star Trek podcast.
Correct.
But what The Well of Forever is the cousin to the Guardian of Forever. Jeff, it's a time travel episode. We haven't had one yet here in Crusade. Time for a time travel episode. Here we go.
Wow.
Well of Forever.
Wow. All right.
What do you got?
I think this is going to be Galen. We haven't seen Galen in a little while.
Yeah.
He's going to be seeking out the wisdom of the technomages that have gone beyond. And the well is going to be some place or something.
The ones who have gone beyond the rim, or the ones who are just in hiding and are still like right here?
Those that are wherever they actually are, wherever they flew off to.
Yeah.
He's going to seek some of their wisdom. And we'll find out right here next week. Thanks everybody for joining us for this. We've had some pretty heavy and great conversations the last few weeks, and really appreciate you all being here for it.
And I'm sorry, Jeff, if I may add to that, if you've made it through the absolute absurdity that this episode has been tonight for Jeff and I, congratulations. You're an amazing person.
We went off the rails more than once.
Hopefully you found it more entertaining than anything else.
In fact, if you're watching this on YouTube or Patreon or wherever, I want to challenge you to go to the audio feed and pull this down. We're going to be, when we finish the Club 65 stuff and whatever else that happens, we'll probably be around an hour 50 on this. I'm going to put the over-under on the audio at about an hour and 5. Maybe lower.
I'll take the under on that, but not by much. But I'll take the under on an hour and 5.
Yeah, go check it out. See how far off we are. There's gonna be quite a bit to. I'm gonna make liberal use of the truncate silence function in this one.
And Jeff, I would just, knowing you're the person who does edit the audio piece down and clean up all that stuff, I would just like to apologize for my role in adding any extra work to your plate, my friend. And if you just get so frustrated, you need to push it over to me, then you go right ahead and I'll maybe do it.
It'll be a good time. But thank you so much. If you are watching us on YouTube, make the comments down there. Let us know what we missed. Is there things in the messages that you got that we didn't get or bring up? You can also email us at babylon5first@gmail.com with any of those. We love picking up those pieces. Also, if you have any fan fiction around Garibaldi or whomever else might have given that login information, we would love to see that. If you have none of those things and don't want to make a comment, or you're listening on a podcasting app and can't, do a comment down below or whatever, just please share this podcast with anybody who might have an interest in Babylon 5 or Crusade. It would mean the absolute world to us. So until next time, it's time for us to get out of here.
Jeff.
I'm going to, yes, Brent, what's up?
Hey, man. On a scale of 0 to Eilerson, how well can you keep a secret?
Was that like Eilerson keeping a secret when he makes like a big discovery? Like, hey, I'm in the mess hall at Sizzler and I figured everything out and I'm going to tell everybody. Or is this more like Eilerson keeping a secret, like deleting a message or something? Like there's a lot of Eilerson to be kind of sussed out on how much he would keep a secret. So, I mean, if I said Eilerson, that's honestly a massive spectrum of Eilerson to Eilerson. So maybe I'll just say Eilerson?
For crying out loud. So you're Eilerson.
Yeah.
You're
Am I wrong? I mean, because as soon as I start, I'm just like, yeah, there's that time is like, I got it. Hey,
it depends on how much you're getting paid for it is really, I think,
what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that stupid IPX lady, we need profit margin. Nobody talks like that in business. Like, we need profit.
I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe they do. I don't know.
I was going to say they need profit or they need margin. They don't tell somebody, we need profit margin. Of course. Yes, you do. Yes. You don't.
By the way, first of all, welcome to Club 65. You guys are awesome. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. It's our after show. Jeff's got the official merchandise shirt over there. If you ever want to get one of those shirts that Jeff has on, they're still up for sale, I think. Jeff?
Yeah, I think they're still. I haven't got on for a long time to look.
Jeff's going to pop up the link down below at some point, or at least I'm going to say that. Or check the show notes. It'll be down there.
Yeah, right about now.
Yeah,
well, actually, we don't put that link in the show notes. You have to be here to see that link.
That's actually very true. Very true. So Jeff's going to pop that up down there. Mind the capitalization of things, because that actually matters in this case for some weird reason. I don't know why this one, but not every other one out there. That being said, Jeff, you and I have talked about that there is going to be a time where we're doing a more traditional podcast type thing, where we're not just watching a show and reviewing it, but we're going to be just discussing the show from a fan thing. I think one of those episodes needs to be weird ass fan theories.
Ooh, I like that.
You know what I mean? Like, just what are some weird theories that we have about Babylon 5? Like, Sarah was a robot the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Or,
you know how great that would be?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, she'd be an incredible character.
Carolyn? Remember Carolyn?
Yeah,
She's
Sanderson.
Sarah's sister.
Ooh, yeah.
That was Sheridan's sister-in-law.
Oh, that Carolyn. I thought you meant Bester's Carolyn.
That's the one I'm talking about.
No, I said Bester's. You said Sheridan's.
No. But Sheridan, she was Sarah's sister, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway. Lockley has a secret love child between her and Sheridan running around out there somewhere.
Or her and Gideon.
Ooh. I like that idea better.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Although we do know, canonically, Lockley has spent some time under Sheridan. I can't believe I said that in this episode.
I know. I won't tell anybody.
Nia brings this up from our Club 65 from our council chambers. Welcome to our council chambers. Jeff and Brent, we need this podcast to be more profitable. We do. So please go over to our Patreon page and you can do that. So
yeah, you're not wrong, Nia.
Anyway.
I like this one from Sarah. I think they both have taken silly pills tonight.
You know what? This episode started off rather. It wasn't just what I said. It was really rather out there.
We had collective steam to blow off.
We did for sure. Well, you know what? You and I didn't get our traditional hour and a half of hangout time prior to the episode. Where at least 50 of those minutes is us going, hey, we should go now. Okay. And then we talk hey, we should probably hit the start button. We should go. Ben brings us up. We've had 3 non-JMS episodes in a row, but he says it's all 3. Ben, does that mean that of the 13 episodes, 10 of them are JMS episodes and the other 3 are not? Is that what I'm now to understand? And we've now had all the non-JMS episodes? Is that possible?
I'd be okay with that because they've not been great.
I want some. I understand why JMS would bring other people in, and the Byron arc notwithstanding in season 5 of Babylon 5. Okay. Of the 22 episodes of season 5, okay, 21.
Yeah.
22 if you actually want to move Sleeping in Light back to season 4 and push that other episode to whatever. There is one episode in that span that just doesn't fit, that sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yep.
That is it, it's not a bad episode. I think we had it kind of in the middle of our ranking, but there's something that's just, it's not in the frame of it. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead. And what's different about Day of the Dead than any of those other episodes?
Written by somebody else. And I think that's just what happens when you get other writers into it. It's helpful, but also it doesn't provide that same flow that I think we're used to and that we now expect out of a JMS project. Agreed. Trey. You got this one?
No, Nia says this. We are not a Star Trek podcast, but we also win awards for being a Star Trek podcast.
It's true.
Truth.
Yep. It is true. Little known secret, but on a particular podcasting app, we are the #1 Star Trek podcast.
Still
For a long time.
It's now been multiple years. We have been the #1. Yeah.
Trey says, tried to rewatch Buffy as an adult. 12 minutes each episode of watching teens making out. I think I made it 5 episodes before I quit. Yes, and key word in there, Trey, rewatch. It gets better. We have a skip button now. Skip that stuff. It's so worth watching to get up into season 4 and beyond. It just gets so good.
There you go. So this is a string of comments all about the one thing. You and I were talking about Darina and her outfit and all that kind of stuff. Well, Ben starts off this conversation. Darina's appearance was tweaked a few times, makeup and the outfit. Typical TNT notes, less alien, more sexy. And Sarah adds to that, glad you said that. I recall TNT wanted to sex the show up. And Nia points out this is after Voyager introduced 7 of 9. So there had to be a lot of, hey, it worked over there. Let's make it sexy over here. Yeah. And they looked at the females specifically within the cast and said, which one can we make sexy? And they made a choice.
And there she was. It's interesting because around the same time frame, Stargate did the same thing. With Anais or whatever, or Freya. Was it Freya?
Anais, yeah.
Anais
and Freya. Yeah. But that only lasted for like 4 or 5 episodes. 3 episodes, I want to say it was. Yeah.
Because they realized
she seemed to have less and less clothes every episode.
Each time. And apparently the ratings didn't improve because people actually care about the story. So
Right. And then Ben says, during Brent's doctor comment, I'm having flashbacks to Gideon and Lockley's adventure. Ben, you got it. That's literally like, that was front of mind. And,
Another great thread on here starts with, so the message is we got to stop trying to do.
Yes.
And then the response, well, if my doctor gets concerned if I don't do regularly,
should be. Mm-hmm.
And the moral, but if you do too much, it's draining. Yeah, it's pretty.
That's awesome.
That was good.
That's awesome. I like Nia laughing at your Kentucky joke.
That's a good joke.
You keep my state's name out your damn mouth. Uh-oh, Nia calls us out. It's been a long one.
Yeah, thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, this was an episode. This one a lot longer than I thought it would.
Same.
Definitely
I thought this would be a pretty quick one.
Brian Thompson had a recurring role in X-Files. I did notice that. That. Apparently, Jeff, we are amazing at our prediction game.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure we are.
One of us needs to be in a slinky outfit moving forward, Jeff. I nominate you.
I'm not afraid.
I know you're not. You will come in some sort of a skin tight outfit next week.
I'll find something.
You will do it, and we may have to censor the episode for the first time.
Just have pixel. Jeff's just a big pixel.
It's like watching your side of the video is like Cinemax. The bird. Like I could see a nipple.
It's so good. So way back, a quick Jeff story. I have a really big family, 5 sisters, and I have 3 brothers. And many of my sisters were baton twirlers when they were younger. My sister is just a year younger than me, was a Grand National baton twirling champion.
Okay.
Kind of a big deal. But my mom would sew her costumes, rhinestones and sequins on leotards and stuff like that. And oftentimes she needed a dummy to put the thing on while she did stuff, and I was always eager to volunteer to slip in to the baton leotard and let my mom do the sequins on it. Fast forward, mid-90s, I'm in was this my ska band? I think it was my ska band, one of our first shows. Musically and performatively, I'm very influenced by the band Kiss, so I painted my face all up, and then I wore one of my sister's baton leotards to sit behind the drums and play. And there's a pretty epic photo of me after the show, hanging out holding a Milwaukee's Best Ice and just looking great in a leotard.
Ben has a suggestion. You should get one of those T-shirts that has an image of a 6-pack printed on it.
Ben, I think that's a great idea. I don't need a t-shirt. All right.
No, you just need a razor to cut off some of that hair you got there.
I can just shave it in.
They clarify for us, we are actually on episode 2 of the 3 that are non-JMS episodes. And yes, the other 10 are written by JMS. So there we go.
One more to get through.
There we go. So, all right. I think that's it for comments from the folks over there. And I guess that's going to close us up here today, Jeff.
It is.
We're at hour and 50. Here we go. We're done. Hey, you guys are amazing. We love you. You guys keep this thing going. Seriously, you guys keep this thing going. We appreciate you guys so much. Like, subscribe, share. We'll do all that kind of stuff. 1 hour, 12 seconds. Done.